Hello and welcome to the September 2021 edition of the Pembrokeshire Bird Diary. I'm Annie Haycock from the Pembrokeshire Bird Group, here to share some of the highlights of the month. September is usually a busy month for migrating birds, but this year was relatively quiet. Yes, a steady trickle of some of the scarcer birds, but generally fine weather meant that many birds just kept flying south. The exception seems to have been the wryneck. Wryneck migration through the UK peaks in September, and certainly on Skocombe this year they were seen almost every day, with a maximum of 4 on the 5th of September and up to 3 on almost every other day, a record month for sightings on the island. The wrynecks recorded here are likely to be birds making their way from their breeding grounds in Scandinavia, with the numbers encountered each year dependent on the right weather conditions. In the autumn, that means north-east to east winds off the back of a high-pressure system over Scandinavia. Ants form an important part of the wryneck's diet, and as such it spends most of its time feeding on the ground. As mentioned last month, its camouflage is so good that it often only gives away its presence when it moves. On the subject of woodpeckers, Skocombe had its 6th record of a great spotted woodpecker there, a juvenile from the red on its head. On the 17th, the highlight was a common rosefinch feeding on brambles behind the wheelhouse. This was particularly rewarding as the team have been repairing the wall which shelters this area. The brambles here were regularly deflowered and defruited by rough weather, but this year there were plenty for the rosefinch to enjoy. It was still there the following morning. Wood warblers often slip under the migration radar. Once they stop singing, they can be hard to find. Some years there are no autumn records at all. The latest sightings are often during September, although in some years they are recorded into October. Skocombe recorded this one on the 6th, and probably a different one on the 10th. And swallow migration was well underway. These birds were taking a break on the lighthouse until the sun came out and sent them on their way. Little stint migration also peaks in September, and we usually see 1 or 2 each year. 4 at Angle Bay, 3 at the Nevern Estuary, and 1 each at Sprinkle Pill and the Tivy Estuary in the first week of the month make this a bumper year, the best since 2016. The BTO migration blog suggests that this could indicate they had a very good breeding season. Little ring plovers are now almost annual visitors, but again in 1s and 2s. This one showed itself well by the Iron Bridge at Newport on the 5th. It's estimated that just over 400 pairs of dotterel breed in Britain, all in Scotland. Autumn migration begins in late July and continues through August and into September. For Scottish birds, the wintering location is Morocco. It seems likely that these birds overfly the rest of Britain on their way south, and that the birds that actually stop here on migration are from Scandinavia. Up to 3 birds were recorded on both Skocombe and Dale Airfield from the 10th onwards, but it's difficult to say how many individuals were involved. This is our best year for them since 2014. The Curlew Sandpiper is one of the most regular of the scarce sandpipers, with usually a few individuals seen each year. As always, it's difficult to work out just how many were involved, but probably at least 8 individuals this month. 1 or 2 wood sandpipers are seen each year, but was the one seen at Angle Bay on the 21st the same individual that was at Castle Martin Course the day before and the day after? We'll never know. The Pectoral Sandpiper is the rarest of the waders seen this month, as we usually see only one every few years. This North American and Siberian wader is an annual visitor to Britain and Ireland, and in the 3rd week of September several were widely reported from across the region. In recent years there's been some suggestions of a few summering in northern Norway, so perhaps there is a change on the way.
In late August and early September, a small team of volunteers go out looking for flocks of choughs going to roost in the evening. While adult pairs usually go back to their nesting territories, by now most juveniles, i.e. the first calendar year birds, have usually dispersed from their natal areas. They tend to gather along with other surviving 2nd calendar year and some 3rd calendar year birds in flocks of various sizes. They search for food from day to day, and these flocks can be quite mobile along the coast and between the mainland and the offshore islands. In the evening they come together to roost overnight in favoured sheltered locations. These roosts are usually not too far from good feeding areas. Counting them at this time of the year gives us an idea of how well and the now independent juveniles have survived after fledging. Numbers seen during the day and at the roosts were quite good this year, with a high total recorded from about a dozen roosts between the 27th of August and the 8th of September. There were 13 birds on Pelaly Golf Course, 5 of which flew off to roost on St Margaret's Island, 18 at Manorbier, and at least another 50 birds at Castlemartin Ranges. Between 8 and 10 were on Skocombe, 21 on the Dale Peninsula, circa 40 on Ramsey, and circa 30 on the Strumper Peninsula. At Chemise Head there were 13 birds recorded, where 40 plus had been recorded several weeks earlier. One of the choughs seen during the roost watches was a colouring bird. She was a female on Dinas Head. This was traced back to a brood of 3 ringed by Tony Cross at Ynys-Lochtin in South Ceredigion in 2015. Apparently there have only been a very few sightings of her since then. As choughs can live for over 20 years, it's worth keeping an eye out for this bird and for any other ringed choughs to keep the records up to date.
On Skocombe, the last of the Fulmer chicks on the study plots departed on the 3rd. That meant that at least 50% of the monitored pairs managed to fledge a chick. By the 8th, there were apparently no longer any Fulmers on the ledges, although small numbers were seen offshore during sea watches, etc. However, this one managed to remain undetected until the 20th, probably the latest ever chick to fledge from the island. The young birds will spend most of the next 4 or 5 years out at sea, but their parents will only be away for a few weeks while they finish moulting. The Manx shearwaters were not far behind, with half the study plot burrows vacated by the 4th. However, that doesn't mean they had all left the island, as several were found in burrows that were not their own. Not all are ready to leave, as some are very much still at the fat and fluffy stage of development. In September 2020, an osprey spent virtually the whole month at the Gann. 2021 proved also to be good for osprey sightings. One was reported regularly at the Gann from the 26th of August until the 21st of September, 2 at West Williamston on the Curlew River until the 13th, 1 on the Tivy on the 16th, and 1 at Kilpayson on the 20th that could have been any of these or a completely different bird passing through. Ospreys can't be told apart easily. Okay, there is a difference in plumage between adults and juveniles, and a size difference between males and females. But unless there are colour rings or missing flight feathers, we can't be sure if it's always the same birds, or if passing birds just find the same places to be good for fishing. Either way, it was a good season for osprey watching. With the Pembroke Castle pond drained from time to time, anything can turn up there. 21 black-tailed godwits were feeding in the shallows on the 2nd. The chick hatching season should surely have been over a long while ago, but in Pembroke Middle Pond, a pair of coots nesting near Barnard's Tower now had 2 tiny chicks. Colour-ringed birds are always interesting. Dave Astin's photographed this Polish black-headed gull visiting Landstadwell on August the 30th. It was ringed on June the 15th, 2015, near Warsaw, and first reported from Neyland in July 2018. In October 2019, it was at Front Street, Pembroke Dock, and now in August and September 2021, it was exploring the north side of Milford Haven again. This ringed plover acquired its jewellery near Pontevedra in Galicia, northwest Spain, in September 2019, and now here it was showing it off at the Gann on the 6th of September 2021. Well, that's a quick reminder of September. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll look out for the October edition.